trying to persuade my dog to stay down there. I don't know whether I'm live. Yes, I am live. Okay. I've been reading today. Again. So I've decided, I was sitting in the garden thinking, it's such a day and such a weekend at the moment, that I thought I'd just share with you another bit. Pages 290, well, 10 pages, let's say. 10 pages, because it's very interesting, this book, but it was written in the 80s and it was published in 93, so that's quite a long time ago, isn't it? 27 years. And there's some stuff in there which really impressed me, because I got it in 2010, I think. I got it. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, about a decade ago. But I've been writing a book myself since 2006, when I was in Russia on a trip. And this is just a little bit coincidental and synchronistic, I think. So I've just decided to sit down and I YouTube it again, because I don't think anybody voiced this one. It's the only planet of choice, essential briefing from deep space. So I'm going to call these 10 pages briefing from deep space. It's easy, isn't it, just to read. So, don't have to play any clips or anything. I'm just going to read this. So now follows a discussion on birth and death. That pricked up my ears. The guest is asking, because this is a circle, and Tom speaks for the collective of the deep space. Let's just leave out who he is or what he speaks for, but he is not incarnate. The group is not incarnate. Guest, may I ask about transitioning into and out of physical life? One thing that concerns a lot of conscious people at present is the quality of birth and the birth experience for souls transitioning into the body. Do you have any advice for people who wish to give a good birth transition to the children coming into the world now? Tom answers, you know that in the past there was not the great difficulty that exists now. In the days past there was created in sound waves, was not discordant, have mechanical sound patterns and waves, did not have electronic field of energy, and birth was accepted as natural. What happens in these times is that people who want to give life to a developing spirit in a peaceful way unintentionally create confusion for a child, for they speak to it in gentleness and lovingness, and then they proceed outside where there is a very noisy environment. Therefore this newborn spirit is not even knowing what kind of world it is coming into. Therefore that must be explained, for you can imagine yourself in a warm cave and then suddenly you feel the vibration of a volcanic explosion. You would not know if you could survive this warm cave, would you? Then you receive assistance from the mother, and then that assurance is taken away. So it causes great confusion. What needs to be arranged is this. If one who is in gestation could be in a calm environment for this birthing soul, with soft music, lighting, educational input, you know that you may read an encyclopedia to one that is waiting for birthing. As that is assimilated also, is this noise assimilated, disruptive noises. Would you not be jarred also? You see, if one spirit chooses to come back, and it is should not, and it is forcefully returning, then it is creating more discordancy, and the nutrients feeding to it are discordant also. Then you can see why then discordances the planet. Now if one came back willfully and had opportunity to have serenity, it then has a chance to perform in its human role in the method that it should. The guest. Question. There are a number of people who now understand this, but it has yet to be developed in a larger way throughout the world. Tom. What must be done is the creating of arenas of safety that a female enters for that time. Guest. Around the time of birth or during the whole of pregnancy? Tom. Through gestation, from halfway through. Alex, another guest. I believe that this is one of the few planets where we are able to sexually reproduce in the physical being. How would the experience of having a family or the experience of a family unit aid us in our spiritual evolution on this planet? Tom. You are correct. in that it is the only planet, not one of few, where that of the sexuality for reproduction is the method that is in sexuality, and in you see humankind searches continuously. This we have explained before. Therefore we will attempt to answer the second part of the equation, of the question. It is bringing forth, and it is not always a necessity for humans to have a family. That is the first premise that must be understood. When a soul chooses to come forth to benefit planet Earth, then it is important that it chooses those elements necessary for its development into its divinity potential. In times past, where souls that forced condition in two humans in order for their reproduction to come into being, for they willfully wished for the elements of either or both humans. This has been so in times past, and now in change, because no souls will recycle that should not, after 1991. Listen to this again. This has been so in times past, and is now in change, because no souls will recycle that should not. We are now moving into a planetary state upon Earth, wherein that method no longer applies. So in your future, not immediate, but soon, a soul will then choose to come forth with the agreement of the male-female vehicle. Therefore, the importance of that family is to bring forth a soul, for it to nurture them, and for them to nurture it, for it and you to attain evolutionary growth, for removal of barriers, and to peel away the density of planet Earth and prepare for its blooming. John, here's another question. The concept, there is no death. We hold some belief about reincarnation, but I sense that it is more complex than a simplistic view, which many hold. Tom, interesting. Those upon this planet can understand that in the times of their coming they choose to come to planet Earth. If they are in a state of despair, the elements of the universe can be explained to them. For planet Earth brings about the desire for the individual to be an individual. And what is frightening for people is that when they begin to believe that if they relieve and purify and evolve, they merge with the source and are no longer an individual. Therefore there is the rejection of reincarnation and the continuity of life. In truth, those who exist upon Earth are from the gods. There are those who have forgotten this completely in different degrees, particularly in the civilized world, as you term it. We know not how to explain to you and to humankind the energies that exist and merge with the source and still be of one individual. It's quite complicated. Guest. The ending of individuality and the end of free will for many people on the Earth would be as bad as dying. It would be very difficult to get over the concept of merging into a universal consciousness, because that is felt to be like dying. Exactness. Therefore, what must be understood is that the individual identity of the personality does not die. That is what we mean when we say humankind upon this planet are from gods. We mean from the civilization or sub-civilizations. Do you understand that? Somehow the means must be found in your world to convey this concept, that death does not bring about individual destruction. Guest. Is free will ego, then? Tom. When we say free will, we will speak now of the physical planet. For example, if you choose to go to another planet, you know in the going that you have given individual free will to become part of a collective free will. Only on planet Earth is each individual totally one of free will. You asked, is free will ego? Perhaps you could say it, but it is more than that. It is choice. Guest. May I ask whether you can give advice to people moving close to the end of their physical life about any ways they can meditatively prepare themselves for the transition? There's only one way, and that is the acceptance that it is only physical demise which takes place. The soul, spirit, mind, and emotional energy continue to exist. If they understood this, when they make the transition from physical to spirit, they would not be in shock state and sleep state in the transition. Guest. A lot of people in our world anticipate that nothing will happen to them after they have made the transition. But we have a great lack of understanding of what a soul may expect or visualize after they have made the transition. Tom, there's much written about that from spirit sources. You are in error in your thinking, for in your world, for example, all Hovits understand life after and life again. All Indians also. All of Shinto also. All Islam also. It is only in your misinterpretation of the Nazarene, of the sleep state, and then the rising of only the good people that creates lack of understanding. Now those who believed and followed the Nazarene are becoming more enlightened concerning that. For the non-God believers, atheists, it is their sadness, as they will not know they have passed on, and they will be confused, for they were not prepared, as most Nazarene followers are not prepared. For when you pass, you are who you are. You do not become enlightened through passing. Guest, I was asking this question for these kind who get lost when they cross over. Tom, then I would say to them, when you have passed on, and you are confused, and you do not know what happened, then recognize that you have passed on, and you are alive. John, I am concerned that the Church seems to be taking such a counterproductive position. Tom, this deep space information. You know there are people demanding. It is not this time for people to demand from the religious leaders. And those religious leaders who do not evolve, then this will be the end of the religious movement, for people will take possession of their lives. John, so is it true to say that all the major religions on earth have some belief in the continuity of life after death? So this would be the one common theme between all religions? Tom, that is correct, yes. There is this knowing in humankind. The religious, those who had religion, utilize that knowing for controlling the masses. The next question was asked by a scientist interested in the subtler aspects of healing. Well, he goes into how healing works. That's rather interesting. What did I like here? So that was pages 190 to 195. This is interesting. Let's see something helpful. Oh, this is quite interesting. The problem is that the questions are always answered so detailed that you wonder. He explains the soul here. And he explains that there's 9 chakras. Tom, 9th chakra is at the top of the head, what you call your silver cord. But that is not where the silver cord is truly located. Ron, on this subject I have some rather esoteric questions. What I'd like to do is to read a portion of something that came through my head and ask if it's correct, and then ask further question. Is that right? Yes. In the beginning, it's kind of a genesis, the one breathed breathless by itself, and turning inwards upon itself, the tension was one, and became the manifold all. Varying densities and intensities of matter and spirit, with a potential to become one union. The 9, the civilization, humanity, and the other kingdoms are each part of all that is. The infinite creation in its totality is the one infinite being, the one being which is aware of itself to the extent that it is different aspect, and it's aware of themselves as part of all that is. The 9 is the crown chakra where God's will is known. The hierarchy of the civilization is the heart chakra, where God's love or wisdom is expressed. Humanity is the throat chakra. What the whole is unknown. It is a mystery. As the head, heart and throat chakras open completely to be their becoming for God, so it is a process of becoming aware of itself. Tom answers his position on this. Tom, at this stage of your knowledge, we cannot explain to you the true understanding of the universe. What you have received comes not from us, but from the civilizations, who also do not have the full understanding. It is a portion of truth, but it is not complete, and it would be very difficult to give you an explanation. For knowledge can be conveyed in words, but wisdom sounds foolish, and it is not able to be conveyed in such a way. But is it acceptable to us you convey these thoughts to those to whom you speak? Ron. Yes, thank you. What I would like to know is the significance of the throat chakra in terms of the great solar one being, in terms of humanity, and in terms of the individual being. That deals with your physicalities. I have a consultation. So what sometimes happens is this Tom, who speaks for the deep space, goes away and asks somebody who has more understanding of it in the group they're conveying from. Council have asked that I convey this to you. In the end, in the need to have tangible structures that can relate to human beings and extending their understanding, have used the term chakra. But it is really a matter of different levels of the soul. Do you understand? Ron, the different chakras are opening at different levels, are different levels of soul? Yes. Manifesting through us? Tom, how can we explain? We are not of the crown chakra. When a soul is born, it is in the first chakra. From that moment onwards, it strives to reach that is of us. Do you understand? Ron, yes. Tom, in each of its reincarnations in different civilization, and also upon earth, it goes through a process. There are those that may remain in the first chakra for many reincarnations, and there are those that, in their understanding that power for self accomplishes nothing, may generate and go into the third chakra. I'm sorry, but it is the fourth, the heart chakra, and then humanity may evolve in mass. Do you understand what we are attempting to say? I think so. Tom, also understand that a soul could be in what you would call the first chakra. It had only got the glory of the universe in its life, in its motivation. Then it may come immediately to us. Since you must have something that you can release in order for you to have understood the world. Let me just say that they are not pigeonholes. Therefore, please do not attempt to pigeonhole. You have an essence of truth. It has limitations, but it will be of service, yes? John, there was another question we were talking about. That is about humor. We have humor in our world. I'm wondering if in your reality you have humor yourself. Our humor is based on our physical existence and the funniness of its situations. Tom says, we have cosmic humor. The universe is funny. So there's somebody asking the difference between ego and pride. I think I'm on again. It's been really bad. My last Monday was so awful. I don't even listen to it myself. I have to learn to edit. Okay. Israel, I would like to know the difference, if there is one, between ego and pride. It is ego that creates pride, and it is pride that makes ego. In the universe there is no difference, but upon earth they create a difference. We will attempt to explain. If you do not ask for help, it is your pride and your independence that keeps you from asking. Is that not so? It is also your ego saying, I'm independent and I need no one. Is that not so? It is one and the same. It is necessary to have ego for existence, but remember that there is the negative ego. There is also a positive ego, and ego must be in a balanced state. It is pride that takes the ego out of balance. It is necessary to have ego. It is of spirit. It is when the ego becomes a pride-filled thing that it becomes a problem. And if the ego becomes limp and like a dish rag and permits itself to be stamped into the ground, then that is not good either. Peter, I have been working on the split between what I would call body, mind, heart and soul, and it would appear that an enormous number of people allow the conscious mind to overrule the heart consciousness continuously. This seems invariably to lead to a path away from consciousness. Tom, you have come upon a truth and an awakening. You see, when science became strong, then it eliminated and ruled out the true self of humankind, its intuitive self. It is of self-love and heart. It is time for the returning to that, for science placed humankind in holes of pigeon, categorized them, labeled them, and put them in a situation such that all people began to think of them in that way. Those scientific beliefs then led to a pattern of mass thinking. This is 1993, there wasn't that much telly, was there? What I have observed is that if people make choices, often it is the mind that tends to make the choice, rather than the intuition of the soul. Thus one comes into life for purpose, but the mind overrules the purpose of the soul. Tom, because science and humankind conditioned themselves to fear, to appear foolish. Science made the decision that belief in universal love, consciousness and the Creator, for the truth is you are the Creator, was not realistic. Thus they lost touch with reality, and humanity was then conditioned to permit its mind to rule it.